Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic / Non-Classic. This is episode number 1732 and Doubleshot number 1626. Now this one is discussing what's left to talk about for Daken Dark Wolverine. I have some issues that we're collecting the trade Big Break and of course the final trade of the series. Now, I could not get my hands on the Big Break trade, so I'm viewing from this website. The Big Break trade, and this, of course, basically I'm discussing it first, issues 9.1 and 10 through 12. Now, I didn't realize this until I looked this up just yesterday, that this book, despite the fact it was originally written by Daniel Wade at the start of it, for some reason, after the Collision crossover, he left the book. And for the remainder of the book, it's done by Rob Williams. Do not know why for that. And it seems as though we have a point one. Because, of course, we have to have point one. Because it seems like every single Marvel book had a point one. And to date, the book that still has the most is Amazing Spider-Man at 3. 3 of them. I think the one that's second most is probably Kenny X-Force. Which I'll talk more about that. So, with this one, well, we're pretty much dealing with the aftermath of the Collision. Well, this is just after the Collision crossover, where you have just basically Daken just killing a bunch of people. And we even see where it looked like he finished having a three-way. Yes, a three-way. And then you have, go back to, now, despite the fact you have Rob Williams do the writing here, he does pretty much, now the artwork is by Rob Garner, who's, the artwork for his actually is pretty good. Let's show some pretty good artwork here. Here we go. Yeah, Rob Garney. Not that bad here, though. They say this is supposed to be Avengers Tower. I'm like, it does. Oh, it's. I think. Wait, this is probably in 2010. So, despite the fact, yes, that's the top of the tower. You're probably thinking, what is up with this building here? You see, from the period of 2005 to about 2010, the Sentry's headquarters was basically on top of the building. This is Heimdall's observatory. That's basically what this is. They don't say it's that, but that's pretty much what it is. And at this point in time, we have the main team Avengers occupying the Avengers Tower. Though, of course, the lineup here is not entirely accurate. Because, well, it's mostly here, except it's basically a mixture of several of the Avengers. You basically have Thor, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Spider-Woman, Hawkeye, and Commander Steve Rogers. Now, why in the world? Now, I get maybe Spider-Man and Wolverine being here because they're on both teams. Hawkeye is on both teams. So Spider-Woman is just on New Avengers. But Steve is on, he's dealing with the Secret Avengers. So basically, they break in. Of course, Wolverine says time for goodbye. And then there's the whole break storyline. Yes. Yes, and then we lead to a next 3 issues. Yes. Where basically from start of issue 10 up until the final issue, Daken moves to LA, and he's here for pretty much the rest of the series. Now, this I think is kind of weird, though. He's a manager for the first 9 issues, and then all of a sudden, Rob Williams is like, oh, let's just have him move to LA for reasons. And there's a gang war going on, yep. Then we have this weird art style here where it comes to these things in Daken's head. It's not good artwork, per se. Nope. Yeah, basically Hollywood Hills, like you have this guy named Marcus, where he just, they just basically make him a drug dealer. And you have Daken gets involved in drugs too, and more bad artwork. And then we're introduced to a character who's here from this issue up until the final issue. Well, actually she leaves after issue 20. She's here for a good period of time. Donna Neal, an FBI agent, who becomes obsessed with Daken. Yep. And then we have possibly by far the weirdest scene in the whole book. Daken is waking up from sleep, has Mark as his 2 goons basically in his apartment. And then Daken proceeds to use his pheromone powers to have his bodyguards kill each other And then Daken sleep with the guy. Yep. Because Daken is bisexual. Yep, that's the only reason for that. Yeah, and then the first issue is like, oh, let's go after Daken. For reasons. Now, of course, the issue does have an advertisement for a couple of the book, which I have reviewed. Wolverine Volume 4, Number 10, and X-23 Volume 3, Number 11. I've talked about these issues already, individual trades. Now, the other one here, I'm actually discuss that in my next video. Next comic corner of this one, when I get a chance to read the next one. So, moving on to part 2 of Big Break. You have a guy fight a monster who's not Daken. And, of course, whatever him and Marcus had, he basically is eating pills, and he steals his car, too. Yes, his car. And weird, trippy artwork, which is not good looking. Yes, and, of course, well, Donna brings up an old picture of Dawkins when he was Wolverine for Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers. And it's very implied that Donna may be attracted to him. And I say maybe because this is nothing is dealt with this until issue 20. Yep. So yeah. So then finally issue 11 they finally meet. They chat and then the issue ends with, well, he's been very trippy. We have the Taskmaster show up. Yes, the Taskmaster. Why is the Taskmaster here? Well, he's here just to pop up for this one issue. Just cuz. And finale for this story arc, we have him take on, well, Taskmaster for one issue. Yep, take on a Taskmaster. Yep. Oh, I almost forgot. There was actually 13 as well. My mistake. Yeah, 13. Oh, wait, 13 is something else altogether. Yeah. Well, in the case issues overall, they're not bad per se. It's a good starting off point. I mean, I get the reason why they decided to do the point one. It's a good starting off point for the new era for the book. That will pretty much take up the last 14 issues of the book. I'm going to give these issues here a 9 out of 10. It's okay. Alright, next up is the final trade that collects Daken and Wolverine. No More Hero. This is volume 4. Excuse me. This, of course, collects the last 4 issues, 2023. And that's it for Daken. He doesn't have more issues after this because this is where his series ends. The first issue of this book basically deals with something with Bill Imp's issue 11, Daken making out with Donna. Now, the thing is, like, here, it's like, he's, like, after he deals with Donna, he goes back to New York, and he basically meets up with Reed Richards. And finds out he's actually dying. Yes, Daken is dying from a virus. What the virus came from, I don't know. Also, this book also contained What If Wolverine Father. Yes, they included that in here as well. Probably because basically this trade is actually pretty thin. So they basically just find somebody trying to ruin some stuff for his father, and then basically somehow involves the Avengers. At one point, he even flirts with Mr. Fantastic, and Mr. Fantastic, who is by the way is straight, married, and has 2 kids. And when Daken says, "No wonder why Sue basically fell in love with you. You're bulging." And I'm like, whatever. Yeah, whatever. And then the Wolverine pops up for these final issues, and by the end of this, Daken dies. Apparently dies off screen because he's brought back like a year later. He's brought back not long after this in their book. Kind of an odd way to end this series, just have like him dying in the last issue. Yes, Daken. But I'm gonna give this book a despite the he had him running around causing a lot of damage, I'm gonna give this book a 9 out of 10. Final thoughts on the Daken Dark Wolverine series. Not a very long series per se. It did last a little bit longer than Laura's did. Yes, like 2 issues longer. Actually, yeah, it was like 2 issues longer. Yep. Now, unlike that book, which managed to maintain its writer for 21 issues, in this book, swapped writers for some reason. Now, I do not know why in the world they did this for, but my guess is the reason why they ended at issue 23 probably was not big seller for Marvel. I'm sure Laura's probably selling pretty well, and they probably ended at that point probably because they thought maybe it was not selling too. I'm sure it was probably selling pretty well for Marvel. But Daken, I think Daken was one of the worst selling titles they probably had at that point. That's just my theory. That's my personal matter. Was Daken out active after this book ended? Yes, he was. After this book, after his apparent death at the end of the series, he pops up later on in the last arc for Uncanny X-Force, where he forms his own new Brotherhood of Mutants. And then he gets killed off again. Well, he has sort of his actual death by the hands of his father in the final issue. It actually was in the penultimate issue of the book. And then after this, he gets revived by Rick Remender in the pages. Well, by the way, Rick Remender writes the next couple series. And he gets brought back in Uncanny Avengers, where he's there for a pretty good period of time. And then after that series, after that storyline wrapped up, he later popped up in the Death Wolverine with Logan's Legacy. Yep, he popped up there. The Wolverines. He also popped up for a couple story arcs for All New Wolverine after this. The All New Wolverine, the Laura McKinley book. Let's see. Try to remember what he did after that. He popped up in Laura's book. I think he did pop up in the X-23 book that came after that. I think. But he didn't do very much after that. Not really, no. He didn't think anything major until he popped up in the most recent book for X Factor. No, seriously. That's the thing with Daken. He did virtually almost nothing once. Like, let's see if we can find here. Yeah, he just didn't do very much. It seems like as soon as he popped up for his stuff with All Wolverine, he just did nothing. Oh, yeah, he did pop up for Iceman for some reason. Yeah, he popped up for Iceman. He also had X-Men Blue. Yes, X-Men Blue. He was also in Claws of Killer. He did pop up Return of Wolverine. And most recently he was seen in the pages of X Factor, which he's there for pretty much the whole entire series. Like all 10 issues of that run. And then, of course, that storyline continued in Trial of Magneto. Not really sure why that book ended for, after only 10 issues. Yeah, I don't get why. It's kind of weird. I've never heard an exact reason for that. No, not really. It's like the book just ended after only just 10 issues. Could have been hiatus. It's possible, to say the least. But yeah, that was the most recent thing Daken did. But it seems as though, like, since the end of this book, he has... You could say he done somewhat of a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's almost like he didn't do very much at all. Like, over the past decade, it's like, appears in this book. Like, he's there for like a story arc or two, and then he just leaves, goes to their book, or he's there for a quick couple of issues. Yeah. He's still somewhat active, per se, but not really bigly. Also, he apparently is no longer wearing his costume he wore in this book. As a matter of fact, despite the fact at the start of the run, he looked like he was going to wear this outfit here. Yeah. Looks like he was wearing this outfit right here. But, weird thing is, after that opening, after those first 9 issues, he doesn't wear that costume anymore. He just wears regular street clothes the rest of the series. Do not know why Rob Williams did it for him stop wearing the costume. You're probably asking you're probably gonna think about, what do I think about if in fact that Donna did hook up with Daken? Could the relationship worked? Probably not. The weird thing about Donna is that after the series wrapped up, she was never seen again. No, seriously. She was never seen again. Yeah, as far as I can tell, it's like they just completely dropped off the character. It's like once the issue 20 wrapped up, it's like, oh, let's have Daken do pretty much, let's have her pretty much do nothing. I mean, that was the thing. It's like, oh, let's just have her show up here for this run here, for this, and have her disappear by issue frickin' 20. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, yeah. And that was her last appearance, because that issue came out roughly 10 years ago. Yes. The final issue of that issue came out 10 years ago, and I'm kind of like, okay. It's like whatever basically Rob Williams was going to do with this book, it's like he had to abruptly wrap it up because the series probably wasn't selling too well, so he had to rush everything. Yeah, it seems as though, like, when you start reading Rob Williams stuff for this book, it seemed like a good start to it, but then they had to rush it. Yes, they had to rush the damn thing. Now you're probably thinking, why the heck would they rush it for? The answer is, I have no idea. No, seriously, I have no idea of why in the world they felt they needed to rush this book. Yeah, I kind of felt as though that the story felt very rushed. Because I kind of felt as though we never get proper conclusions, like everything had to be dropped because the book wasn't selling too well at this point. It probably you would think that the book was so on the Daniel Way, and my guess is, I guess when people thought when Daniel Way left the book, I guess they figured they'll stop buying the book because Daniel Way is not here anymore. Who did a great job with the character. And it is surprising this book lasted longer than his previous book, which in itself was only 16 issues. This was 23. And that's shocking to say the least. And here's the weird thing about his run as Wolverine. From issues 73 to 75 to 90 of Dark Wolverine. That numbering does count for the Wolverine numbering for some reason, despite the fact Logan's not in the issues. I think he appeared up himself like 2 issues of the entire series, 2 or 3 issues of those issues. Yeah, because they dropped the character because Daken took over those issues because of the Dark Reign stuff. And my guess is the reason why they launched this book because, well, Daniel Way did a great job with that book. And Mark felt as though that the Dark Wolverine branding probably could definitely work. Just they had to restart it because, well, it's, well, a new fresh start for him. And then they let him go for the book. I don't know why. If I get a chance to meet Daniel Way, I will probably ask him, why did you leave this book after 9 issues? It could be he got fired. That's possible. He could have got fired. But honestly, I'm not really sure exactly what happened here. It could have been various things that could have happened when it comes to him. Yes, he could have been fired, or it could have been other stuff. It's possible, to say the least. Yep. So yes, that's pretty much it for this particular review. Next one is going to be Boruto, and then on to the One Piece dub. Okay? That's video. That's it.